the 17th pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Wade Baldwin IV from Vanderbilt University.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of Draft and Stash, which is basically your regional take at the NBA and the Memphis Grizzlies to a more specific manner. I am Drew. Joining me on my left is local writer and up-and-coming bigwig, Chip Williams, who writes with Upside and with the GrizzlyBearsBlues.com.
Hey, thank you for having me, Drew. I'm very excited.
I'm excited. The draft just happened yesterday. I think we can both agree that, well, at least to me, it's kind of my Christmas. Like, I look forward to it all year. I've been watching it ever since the Grizzlies first got here, when they took, it was Powell and Shane, and then I really got into it the next year when it was all about Yao and Jay Williams, right. And we took Gooden at 4. So since then, I've been a complete nut. I read everything. I watch all the sites. I look at all the drafts, and I try and guess where things are going to go. How did you feel with the current draft, and was it overwhelming or was it underwhelming to you?
Well, I think that you look at the prospects coming out in this year's draft. It was kind of geared as it was kind of built up as a little bit of a weaker draft. So it's something that we're not going to be able to evaluate until 3 or 4 years down the road. I mean, you just can't tell. I mean, you can look and say there's maybe 1 or 2 marquee players in this draft. And you look at Brandon Ingram, Ben Simmons, and after that, who knows who's going to do what. That honestly may be the only 2 guys that have potential to make an all-star game, but there's still value. I mean, you can still find guys that are going to play a rotation, they're going to play a role in this draft, even as you get on into the second round, as we'll talk about more at the Memphis Grizzlies. I think a lot of talent slipped into the second round, and even some guys went undrafted that I think could end up.
Off the top of your head right now, if you had to label, let's say 2 guys each, who are your stars, your busts, and your guys who might be a little bit of
I think your stars are Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram. I think that those 2 guys have clearly the highest ceilings of anybody on here. They also have probably the highest floors. You think that there's very little chance that either one of them is going to be a bust. I think the worst case scenario, they're probably both going to be at least high-level rotation players, if not stars in the league. And it wouldn't surprise me if either one of them made an all-star game. A little bit of a sleeper, or a guy that maybe could surprise up and make an all-star game, is a guy that I really grew to like in this draft. That's Marquise Chris. I think he's in a pretty good situation with the Phoenix Suns. I grew to really like him a lot. I'm kind of excited about his potential. Some guys in the second round that I was really surprised that made it all the way there. Deontay Davis is one of them. I had him as a lottery pick. He slips all the way to 31. And then there's some guys, that even slipped a little bit further into the first round, on into the second round. Zubak and Zizic, the 2 Croatian big men.
Which Boston fans did not like.
With the 23rd pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select Ante Zizic from Split, Croatia. He last played for Cibona Zagreb in Croatia.
Well, it's great value. Booed. Yeah, it's great value. I mean, I understand. Listen, I get it. It happens every year. Someone takes an international guy. They don't understand how.
It's not a sexy pick. Yeah.
It's not. It's not. You're not taking, Kyle Wiltshire from Gonzaga, who everybody knew scored 20 points a game, but it's probably not going to be an NBA player.
True.
You're taking a guy no one's ever seen before. But I think they're both really good. I think they were really good value picks where they were drafted.
Who do you think are going to be the busts in this draft? Folks that were drafted probably too high and just never pan out.
Well, there's 2 guys that come to mind right off the bat. I think they're both overdrafted. Georgios Papagiannis from Greece. He was drafted by the Sacramento Kings at 13. Mm-hmm. Then Thon Maker at 10. That one, both of those blew my mind. I had Thon Maker 41 on my big board. He goes 10. I had Papagiannis 58, he goes 13.
And I think that is a good segue into who were the winners of the night and the losers of the night. Losers, I would say, the Bucks, drafting, like you were just saying, Thon Maker, who came out of nowhere and just at one point, folks had him at in the high 20s, the low 20s, and then on the draft day, people didn't know how old he was actually and everything. So all types of things, and then the Bucks just go for it at 10.
Completely get you get your guy, you go get him, but you probably could have traded back 10 to 15 spots.
And I think on more of a national scale, people expected them to take a point guard. They have no point guard on that team. Kid currently hates all his point guards.
So Wade Baldwin would have made a lot
of sense. Wade Baldwin was right there, and he ends up falling, to the Grizz, which we'll get into a little bit later. Going into the winners, I thought that the Nuggets are once again just like nailing like all their picks.
Agreed.
And then the Suns end up getting Chris and Bender and Tyler Ulis,
absolutely,
who just tumbled and tumbled and tumbled. And so you talk a little bit about Chris being a star. Maybe I have more concerns because I'm not sure where his time's going to come from. Because now with Bender and Len and him, I'm wondering how that overall rotation will happen.
That's tough. I mean, that's something that they're going to have to figure out. Earl Watson, former Memphis Grizzlies, the head coach there, he got the head gig. That's going to be something they got to figure out because I think probably Bender may be a little bit more ready than Marquise Chris right now, and especially playing next to Alex Len. Their two games play off each other pretty well. But Marquise Chris coming off the bench is going to be like a fantastic change of pace guy. It's almost like you throw a knuckleball pitcher into your starting rotation. Like, this guy is a freak. I mean, he is just an absolute freak with good skill.
I think Chad Ford was saying that he's that there are some concerns that is he going to be like another Swift who got drafted, had all the talent in the world but had no drive to actually be good.
Sure. And you don't know. I mean, he was a borderline top 60 recruit, which is not something that you typically see out of a guy that ends up going one and done and then into the top 10. Usually these guys are top 5 high school recruits or top 10 high school recruits. But he was not well thought of out of high school, and he just kind of burst onto the scene.
So not only with the draft picks, there were also a couple of draft pick trades that I think also maybe shook up the NBA like in a certain way. The Thunder end up sending Ibaka, who's been there for the last 7 years and was actually picked over Harden as their third future piece.
Right.
And now it looks kind of dumb because Harden's still like an MVP candidate.
Right.
So Ibaka nets them Sabonis, Ersan Ilyasova, and I think the obvious best piece, which is
Victor
Oladipo, who I love or whatever. And I mean, like, I know that last year when they were trying to trade him or Harris, I was all in, like, when I was trying to get Oladipo here. How do you think that this affects the Thunder going forward?
Well, it's interesting because you look, Serge Ibaka did not have a very good year, especially relative to the standards. You know, he just steadily got better and better and better. And then it felt like the Thunder basically tried to turn him into what the Cavs turned Kevin Love into, almost like a stand in the corner guy, going to shoot the three, shoot the jumper. But then on the defensive end, we expect you to give 110% effort, we expect you to rebound, we expect you to block shots. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, guys need the ball to be engaged on the defensive end. Like the old Detroit Pistons, they would run a play for Ben Wallace the very first play of every game. And that all of a sudden, bam, like, he's engaged, he's going to defend, he's going to rebound. And honestly, I thought they did a pretty good job of getting some good value.
I completely agree. I mean, what's strange is that Ibaka's course at one point was obvious all-star.
Right.
And he was a great, shot blocker, team defender, and then as he grew and evolved his game, he took away from his post presence and went more towards, handling the ball, like, and hit a shots, here and there. And I think that actually took away overall from his game.
And I think what it does too, getting Victor Oladipo, it makes you not have to now overpay Deion Waiters. Like, you can just let Waiters walk and feel completely fine about it because you've got a guy. People are calling Depot a 3-and-D guy. I'm a little suspect of that. He's kind of a mid-30, I think shot about 35% from three. We'll see. I think at worst he's going to be a really good 2 defender and a guy you feel better about with the ball than Anthony Robertson, who they had there.
So let's stop waiting on it and get right to the crux of the show, which is all about the Grizzlies. 17, we go Wade Baldwin. I know that you're happy, so you go good cop, I'll go bad cop.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, I had Wade Baldwin 14th on my big board. I think that I would have had no problem if he went, anywhere from 10 and beyond. Or really, he could have even gone, 8 or 9 and probably feel okay about it. I think worst case scenario, he's a really good 3-and-D wing, and that's the key. 6'4" with a 6'11" wingspan. I think he could competently defend 1s and 2s, maybe even defend some some smaller 3s. I think you can switch screens with him, which, a lot of these teams now are using the 1-2 pick and roll, where you get your point guard, your shooting guard, pick and roll. You can now switch that, no problem, with Wade Baldwin. So he fits in really well there. He's got a funky-looking jump shot, but it works. He makes it over 40% of the time, and that's okay. I do think they're probably going to try to raise his release point a little bit because he does have a low release. I wrote a piece for Grizzly Bear Blues. I said it kind of looks like if Kevin Martin halfway fixed his shot. Martin shoots from the hip. Baldwin is at least shooting
chest,
a little bit higher, maybe even up to his eyes or so. But it's a weird shot, but it works. It works for him. He found what works, and that's okay. I think, too, as long as you re-sign Conley, you can play both those guys on the floor and feel really good about it. Some of them are good spot-up shooters off the ball, And really, Baldwin, he's going to need to be able. His point guard skills are going to have to progress for him to be a starting level point guard in the NBA. He's not a great creator. He's good. He's not great. There's a few things he's got to get better at. But like I said, worst case, he's a really good 3-and-D player.
Okay, so on my side, I was never a big Baldwin fan. Like, I know going into the draft, you and a bunch of the guys here, like on Twitterscape, basically liked Baldwin, and that seemed like the consensus overall pick that like everybody would be okay with. So the night before, I watched 2 hours of him, 2 hours of like Valentine, and Baldwin to me, he seemed like the safest pick. Like I felt that like at worst he'll be in your like overall 8-man rotation. At best he'll probably be like a starter. He just consistency, I guess, is a key. His handle to me is not great. He's an okay athlete, but he doesn't like wow you. It's not like he doesn't make a play where you're like, oh my god, like it's like Rose or Russ or somebody.
Right, sure.
He had issues with his team and stuff, and everything in like locker room. So like I'm wondering how he is on like a mental level. His team wasn't that good last year, so he was this great piece, but he wasn't able to lead his team anywhere. Of actual like value, and his point guard skills are not that great. So I feel that the Grizzlies were really enamored with his size and length. I think that they feel that they can probably turn him into something great, but that he has all the tools physically that they need to actually like build on.
Fizdale's touted as a big-time developer of talent, and that's something that you really like because his game does need to take a few steps. I mean, he's not necessarily a plug-and-play guy, although I do think he's going to play minutes next season. So we'll see. There are a few concerns, but listen, like I said, this guy's a lottery-type talent, so getting him at 17 is good value.
So after 17, the Grizzlies were out of the draft until 57. But at this point, the draft was tumbling. Like, there was all types of talent that we had going higher, and just random players were going 10, 13. Walking. It was nuts. So we were both really enamored with the kid from France.
Luwawu. Timothy Luwawu, yeah.
Luwawu. Him, Korkmaz, Ellenson was right there. Scalabissier was also following, and so the Grizz were trying extremely hard to actually get back into things, and they eventually did. They found a trade partner with Boston to get the 31st pick and the 35th pick. At 31, Davis, who was another player that was also supposed to have gone like top 15, ended up people just, I guess, were not as high on him as he had hoped, and he ends up just falling out. So touch a little bit on his potential and maybe why he fell.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't have a great reason for why he fell, other than you look at teams that are in the lottery. Usually, they don't necessarily need a guy that they feel like can come in and play early minutes. So they're more apt to take a guy like a Scalabissier, like a Deonte Davis, that needs a little bit of development before they're ready to play big-time minutes. So once these guys start slipping to 15, 16, 17, you get these teams that are playoff caliber teams, and maybe some of them want more of a sure thing. And so Deonte Davis is not a sure thing. I had him 13 on my board. I actually had him one spot ahead of Wade Baldwin. And I looked at some mocks kind of before and after. The lowest I saw him going was 15. I saw several that had him in the top 10. I actually mentioned on a podcast before the draft, Deonte Davis is one guy that is not consistently going in the top 10 that I could see going in the top 10. He's got incredible length. He's got incredible bounce. He moves very fluidly for someone that's 6'11", 240 pounds. A lot of times at Michigan State, he'd switch out onto a wing, and he'd stay in front of him. And he's allowed to give a little bit of cushion just because of how long he is. One thing I love about his game, he blocks shots one-on-one. Like, he will have a guy making a post move on him, and he will jump up and block his shot. It's incredible. You love the shot blocking potential. He's a massive offensive rebounder, almost 5 offensive rebounds per 40 minutes, big time tip back dunk threat.
Yeah.
Has a pretty decent motor. Like, sometimes you see these guys with tons of potential, and the thing is, we just got to get him playing hard. He plays hard. Like,
he has a soft voice. I think sometimes that can be misconstrued as not having heart.
Sure.
If you're just not very vocal. I mean, here recently with the Grizzlies, Jeff Green was here, and he's very mild-tempered, but unfortunately, also on the court, he also played mild-tempered. So I think it can maybe some Grizzlies fans might hear Davis talk in his interviews and maybe think that maybe he's not going to bring it.
Block shots, rebound.
Well, and he was bummed. Like, last night he was totally pissed off because he thought he was going in the top 15, and I don't blame him. Like, he basically, without saying it, said, "I got bad advice. Like, I was told I'm going in the top 15, Here I am in the second round, the last dude sitting in the green room. I'd be pissed too, you know? That excites me a little bit because I think he's going to use that as fuel to like, you know what, I'm going to show these other 30 teams that passed on me, those other 30 picks ahead of me, I'm better than every single one.
I think that these picks will end up being okay.
Yeah.
Fizdale's a great coach.
Great developer of talent. Like he's going to earn his money right here with these guys.
So I'm hoping, I'm really excited to see both of them playing in Vegas, which is going to happen in about 2 weeks, I think. Unfortunately, we will not get to see Jordan Adams, who apparently lives in like a hospital now. He's just always hurt. Jerome Martin, he said that he was about 2 to 3 weeks away from getting his boot off.
Yeah.
So I think that the league lasts, what, about 2 weeks?
That's about the time summer league is. Like,
yeah, so I think that if everything goes perfectly, maybe he can practice or something with him. But I would hold your breath on actually having him in a game. I would love to actually like had him there. It's always exciting to watch, like just like kids playing together and everything. It's a lot of fun. The kid from Serbia that we took at 35, I can't say his name, so I'll let you do it.
I'll try. Rade Zagoric.
I didn't know a lot about him. I went after he was drafted and watched a whole bunch on his games. I just read a bunch of stuff, watched a bunch of stuff. I was really impressed.
That like he's not going to come over. Rade's not going to come over right away. But you feel okay because this Megalex team is there's a 18,000 word awesome piece that someone's waiting to write on this Megalex team. It's really great. You feel okay about leaving him over there. Like their whole thing is developing young talent to get them ready to play in the NBA. So you're going to leave him over there for at least a year, maybe two. They're going to invest in his development. Like he's going to create his own shots. He's got really good handles. He's 6'9". He's legit 6'9" and long. Can really operate well out of the pick and roll. He's got a decent jump shot. It's something that's going to need to improve. But he's got you like
it's okay.
Yeah,
it's nice.
It looks okay. But he's really great pulling up. Like he can create his own shot and like he takes it. And if a guy sags back on a pick and roll, like he's going to pop it right in his face. Or if they hedge out too hard, he has no problem splitting it. He's explosive when he gets to the rim.
I'm not sure if I'm old school, but I love slashers.
And that's what he is.
He slashes well. I mean, like there's so many minutes or times where like he'll drive it and you think it's like a layup or something, and he just punches it on somebody, and it's like, wow, that kid's from Serbia. That's nuts. You know,
there are a lot of draft guys who are really high on him.
I'm very excited by him. I was a little upset originally, but then after watching things, reading up on everything, I'm now pumped about it.
And that's anybody. Like even I was like, I watched a little bit. It's like, but then you start digging into some of these guys. Like, okay, they can play. Like that's not the case with every European guy, but I think the Grizzlies do about as good a job as anyone scouting overseas.
So we will come back next week and we'll touch more on the summer league as a whole. It'll be getting going and rampant. That should also be around the time when free agency finally hits, which I actually just heard before we got on. The Wizards are prompt to offer Joakim Noah a 4-year, $120 million deal. Which makes me almost puke in my mouth right now thinking about it. He
he had such a good season last year.
He's amazing.
Such a good.
All right, so everybody, so I'd like to thank you all for joining us on our first ever episode of Draft and Stash. I'd like to thank Chip for joining me. Come back next time when we'll talk about phase 3 of the offseason, which is going to be all about the free agency and the summer league. We'll see how the team is looking. Thank you.